All right. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:34. I'm glad my system is working. If you remember, on Thursday the rains came, and we had a huge leak in the Short Hills office, and my server got wet, and I couldn't log in on Thursday. And then Friday I was trading from a laptop in my kitchen, and it was a little pain in the butt. But anyway, it was good to reduce some risk on Thursday, and that helped through Friday and having some protection on. But managing the ranges is also very prudent. I think a lot of traders would have liked to walk in today with the futures down 35 handles and then a 3-day down move into an oversold condition. You could have bought a lot of things to go from red to green, but instead I woke up this morning, drank my water, looked at what's happening. Europe was broadly higher. Asia was higher. I'm like, oh, we're going to be up 35 handles. I looked, oh, we're up 35 handles. Anyway, so we know the drill. Bottom line is it's what is it? It's August 4th, right? Got a long month ahead of us. The market pulled in less than 3% off the highs. If you used your sell rules on Thursday and sold when you had some strength or failed to hold 638 or, took out this area, then, you definitely reduce some of your risk and some of your pain. And then into this area, it made some sense to try and hold. The oscillator, I talk about the oscillator. When it's overbought, it's plus 40. When it's oversold, it's minus 40. We're a minus 75 on Friday. So it made some sense to take off some hedges and maybe test a few things. I know I sold over half my UVXY calls, but I really didn't buy much because A, my system was down, and B, I was on the road to Yale, and C, I wasn't sure what would happen today. We could have had one of those Mondays where we were down 60, 70 handles. So why put yourself in harm's way if you're an active trader? But instead, we're up like 40 handles, and this is what I'm thinking. You have this gap here, 626.34 is the gap pivot. It fills up to 630.76. So we'll see what kind of control the active sellers have, because they took the ball back a little bit last week after 2 months of an active sequence to the upside that paid us handsomely with money trades, this, that, everywhere. If you remember, starting from just say, like you do it one way or the other. Like, remember this gap up? Okay, came in. The active bulls had the control to keep it unfilled. So now you'll see, do the active sellers have enough power to make sure they reject price here? Or if they fill this gap, that doesn't mean much except for that, there was still some appetite for risk and buyers, and it just, there's a little less control by the seller. So if you're looking at short rallies, you got to make sure, you do it in prudent areas and just let the market rebuild. This would have been a great spot to be opening up at today, 613-ish. It's not the case. So you'll see what kind of bounce do we have. Does it get into this gap and push higher? Does it get into it and then all of a sudden not hold it and make a little tail? We'll watch to see if you get some, green to red trades from some of the leaders. But overall, after a huge move like we've seen since the lows, a little bit of August back and forth wouldn't be the end of the world. It's just how it happens. Sometimes things trade in a conducive way, and sometimes things are a little bit of a pain. There are guys that covered 75% of their shorts into this 2-day down move, and they're foaming from the mouth. I'm going to short a rally. I'm going to add some shorts back into here for it to come back down. And then there are guys who get out of a lot of risk who are like, I want to buy in the hole, and now it's, that trade's a little messed up. So 626 to 630, does it get in that gap? Same thing with the Qs. If you sold into strength, okay, on Thursday, because it gapped up above 572 and failed to hold, which is part of those sell rules that I give you guys, you were out of the way for this big move lower. And now you'll see, how much does it get into this gap above 559.02? This low here is 563. And, it's kind of like the same. You could overlay some retracement rules. You can make it as complicated as you want. We'll see. For some reason, I'm trying to get into my my sterling, but it's saying I can't do it. I would show you where they are now. Last I looked, we're up like 42 handles. Maybe it'll let me do this. Hold on a second while you guys. Anyway, and then you saw a lot of earnings get sold. Meta had a huge gap up. So did Microsoft. By Friday, they were already in those gaps. So that told you, hey, maybe these things aren't going to hold. They've come too far. And then you had Amazon, not enough. And you had Apple, which looked fine, get sold. So there was lots of reasons to reduce risk as an active trader. So if you feel that you're not in a good spot today because you didn't buy the close on Friday, I don't think you did the wrong thing. But anyway, so like you look at a Meta, hold on a second. Actually, Meta gave you, we were talking on the VTF, like Meta came back and retested pretty much the 747 area. So, hold on. So now what? It still has a pretty big gap here. So, but again, you put a little peak in here at 784. All it did is retest the prior high area. So Meta, Meta is something you definitely have to watch. I'm not sure how much Meta's up because my system will not. Let me see. It said login attempt outside system hours. I hate technology. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. My dogs will tell me where things are at. All right. Let's see. August puts. Well, we'll see. If you think that August is going lower, then into this rally is where you want to buy some puts. Into strength, they're a little cheaper. But anyway, let me put some. I wasn't here until the close, so this is what 784. 784 is right here. Right away, this was a pretty much doji top, so it told you, to be a little bit careful. Now the question is, will this spot hold for August? I don't know. I'm going to try and do a little less. I've already reduced a lot of risk. I had a tricky week where, I bled a little bit in a lot of leftover longs. I had a lot of longs that worked, but I still had 10, 12 positions that little by little. Meta's at 761 up 11. So where's 761? Okay, so you guys, let's make like we're a team today. You guys tell me where things are at. So this low is 765. So I would think if you think this is going to continue lower, or it should not get much above 765. So right now you're saying it's at 761 up 11. So all it is you pulled in. It's somewhere over here. We'll see if this area gets rejected. Tell me where the spies are. The spies last I looked was at 626, right? ASTS is up what? 40 cents. Yeah. ASTS it didn't come in a lot, so I wouldn't think that'd be bouncing so much. Yes, there was some rumors or some news in what's it called, in drone land that that I think Pony was going to buy one of the New York City drone names, so that's probably up. Yeah, 766. I put that there. So anyway, then you go to Microsoft. Microsoft gapped up, but it was also after a major move, so filled that gap, which isn't the end of the world, but it's just, again, if you bought on earnings day because everyone was so bullish on Microsoft, then you weren't feeling too good. So now we'll see if this low holds. This is 520.86, so might as well put that in there. Palantir does. That'll be interesting to see what Palantir does after the close. I'm not going to have an option strategy into it. I have no FOMO on Palantir. So that's 518. This is 520 now. This is underneath here. HIMSS reports, Palantir reports, open. Okay, everyone's always talking about this open. Yeah. So some guys had it here, stretched as high as what? Stretched as high as 497. Listen, guys, when the music ends, these meme names, they don't come back so fast. You're better off going to quality. You're better off going to Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, right? Anyway, so I guess what's this low? This actually turned green on a sea of red. So if you're long some, probably wasn't probably a good decision on Friday. If something goes green in a sea of red, usually that's showing you some relative strength and giving you some clues to be in it. So anyway, that's right there. you want to look at NVIDIA, NVIDIA will be something to give you some clues. So NVIDIA, just like everything else, came in. We made a lot of money in NVIDIA. All my charts are a little off because, again, I wasn't here on Friday's close, and I didn't. Let's see. So that's where that is. This is where it opened up and failed. So what's this low here? This low here is 170.89. It'll be interesting to see if anything could get above even Friday's high, let alone spots up 30. Listen, if you sold, like it depends on how active you want to be. If you sold strength on Thursday when we gapped up into the excitement, of whatever it was, Meta and Microsoft, and when we failed to hold, okay, then you were able to buy some in the hole and navigate. The key to the market is being in like a rhythm, selling strength, buying a dip. If something makes a higher high and you could buy it through, that's great too. But I would think, this open is not the open that most people would have wanted, even if you covered some shorts and to be long into today, not an easy thing to do. Maybe a little bit because of the oscillator. But so I would say, let's see what this is, 176.54. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see if NVIDIA can get above 176.54, which is right here. So this actually filled the gap. So NVIDIA is still showing leadership. Plus, if you look where NVIDIA was, NVIDIA just got back below the 8-day, okay, where the overall indices are all below the 21-day. So NVIDIA is still, still a spot. Please help to understand the sell rules. Well, sell rules are very easy. Okay, I have a bunch of them. Okay, there's like 4 of them. One, if you open up, just say you're in like 10 positions and you open up 40 handles, you trim some into strength, so you book money. Then, if it fails to hold a higher, a prior high, that means it's not enough. It's not strong enough to stay above 638 to work towards a 640 or 642. So that would be another reduced risk rule. Then if it starts taking out prior low areas or prior days, it's showing power. So that's another reason to maybe reduce some risk. So if you used all your sell rules, basically you weren't in 10 positions holding your nose going underwater into Friday. So that's why I always say use your sell rules. Even if it's just like micro sell rules, it's not always a macro inflection point. So if you use your sell rules on this day, hey, maybe you said the oscillator is minus 70. I sold the SPYs at 638 or at 636. I could be a buyer into this outline support area that held for most of the early July, and you bought some back, and now you trim some into strength and you use one sell rule. QBTS reports Thursday. Okay, Tesla's nothing. Tesla is just a rangy trade that's, it's not doing a whole hell of a lot. It broke below this wedge-ish type pattern. It's up a little bit today. Not very interesting. It's just a range trade like everything else. It's not making higher highs. It's not outperforming. It's not doing anything special. What's Tesla doing this morning? So right now, NVIDIA's up. Apple just, I don't even know what to tell you with Apple. First of all, let me try and log in one more time here. I don't understand what's going on with this T3F SRE. It's 6:48. We're not outside hours. Nope. All right, so Tesla, where's Tesla right now? It's probably just in the range. We're below the moving averages, not doing anything special. Jensen, you trust? CRWV. Let's see. I don't know. That one tried to gap up the other time that hasn't been acting awesome either. Yeah, like this one's been slowly, like this is when this was a sexy buy, when it got above 74 or 64 and trended, and it's been trending lower, sold into strength, choppy. I don't see anything that's so awesome as far as like active trading longs right now to sit in if you're going to want to get paid in August. Like this is just a range bound, maybe sell them when they're higher, buy them when they're lower, test out levels and let things rebuild. As an active trader, I don't think you need to be, so into anything. Tesla's up 7. Okay. Let me see. Tesla up 7. That's a lot for this. Let's see. Right now, it looks like the spies are 626-ish. Okay. So this morning, Tesla is up 7. Yeah. So Tesla's up a little bit more than most things. Okay. So it's at 310. What's this high? So Tesla's actually above. You know what? So Tesla's telling you it's a little bit stronger than most things, right? Because Tesla is already above Friday's high, right? So that's something. If you're actively trading, you say, hey, there's some relative strength. There's a little relative strength in Tesla here. So see if this starts something different, because there's been nothing different in news Elon comp package. Elon getting his compensation. All right, well, that means he's probably a seller. So we'll see what that leads to. Anyway, okay, so it's a little bit above here. So, if you look at just say NVIDIA, which isn't as oversold as Tesla, 176.74 is the high. So NVIDIA is not there. So NVIDIA has some room to it. NVIDIA is trading on 176. So NVIDIA is a little bit below. So you'll see, does 176.50 reject price? So some people might short ahead of that, or if it trades through it, it could be a quick little buy. So like these names, IONQ, pretty broken. Okay, look decent here, and then that, it's just range bound. Broke here, below the moving averages. Rebuilding. So many things are just in like rebuilding land. So, just it's not for active momentum traders. If you're an active momentum trader that likes to trade things through patterns, it's just that's not the market we're in right now. And right now, you could buy versus support, short versus resistance, see if there's extra news, et cetera, et cetera. So go to like the QBTS. This too, tried to break out above it, couldn't hold it. Coming into the 50-day range bound nonsense. Yeah, so SoFi was actually really good, because very choppy, but SoFi, was sold into the earnings, and then when they announced the deal, we were buying it at 2050, gave you a little bit of bounce. At least it gave you some follow through, made you a lower high, and then held here. So at least it's trading well. Like some things trade well, and some things trade, with a little predatory nature. This at least is trading okay, and it's rebuilding. Someone said, what about Robinhood? Robinhood, it needs time. Let this build a whole new pattern here. Let it be a range-bound trade. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of range-bound trades over the next week or two as this market tries to rebuild. This is when it was above the 8-day, making higher highs and higher lows, and then into earnings. It was a strong earnings report, but after the size of the move that it had, it just wasn't enough. Yes. So the oscillator is down enough where today might stick. So if you have short on the brain, just make sure that that again, this range that doesn't, spies do not have to get rejected at 626. It could go all the way up to the 8-day and then get rejected, or it could even retest into this area. But we'll see. Let's see. ACHR was a pain. All the drones were kind of a pain. Look at that. So if this was any good, okay, and have momentum, it should have held here, which it didn't. It broke that low, or at anything held here, which gave you this. Look at these sell rules here. You could have sold some strength. You could have sold when it didn't hold a prior high, or sold when it broke below a 3-day level here, and then not been involved for that. We made a really good money into this move. That was a nice active sequence that wasn't special. So when an active sequence starts, in order for you to stay in that active sequence, it has to act special. And acting special usually means you're acting better than the market, not worse than the market. And if it's not acting special, you don't need to sit in it as an active trader, because we are in the moving business, not in the sitting business. Usually if something starts to act unspecial and you you don't sell it, it turns into an investment. You ever have a trade that turns into an investment? That means because you didn't stop yourself out. Yeah, Jobby is better. Jobby was the leader. You're right. 100% right. This is actually acting better. Look at this. This held up. This is, acting like, so this is an example of acting much better. This held the 8-day, whereas ACHR went below the 8-day, went below the 21-day, and came in all the way to the 100-day. So what should be on top of your go-to list if you're looking at this group? This. Okay, RDW also wasn't great. Failed right there. Remember, we had a great trade here. Okay, they did the money raise. We're buying in here, sold most of it, and I held 25% only of this, and it hurt. This came all the way to the 200-day. So as you look at this, JOBY is the only one of the group that is still above the 8-day and held in decent. Anyway, Bitcoin is trying to rebuild. IBIT broke this spot, so I guess we'll see if it retests it. I got out of my IBIT as I was, I talk about when the trade changes. Well, I've been in Bitcoin for a long, we've had a lot of money trades of Bitcoin. I was holding Bitcoin, for it to hopefully hold here, make our higher high. So what happened here? It broke. So my gap up bull flag continuation pattern changed. So when the reason you're in a trade changes, you have to move on. And now we'll just see what happens. Does it come up and retest this area? Does it fill this gap? I don't know. Bitcoin was up all weekend. So what's this? This is 65.77. So see if maybe this whole day gets reclaimed. If today's whole day gets reclaimed, that would say, hey, we'd call that the king and queens pattern, where all of a sudden they stop everyone out and they change direction, and then maybe it goes. And that crypto does that. I would stay away from Mr. Mr's a pain in the ass, but see if Mr. leads, I guess. Let me see what's IBIT doing today. Hold on, before I let you guys go. So 64.93. So it's up 70 cents. So it's not even halfway. It's not even half of this bar. Half of this bar is. So again, if you want to get the definition of retracement rules, how much of the down move gets reclaimed? So if all of a sudden the active bulls can only take back a third, I'm going to leave you with this: a third of this 2-day move. That means that the sellers have a little bit more power. If the active bulls could take back more than half, 50%, that shows that the sellers don't have that much power. They're not showing up as much. And if it starts to rebuild and penetrate, then it just keeps going. But anyway, MP has been a sick trade. You're right, John. MP, look at that. Talk about relative strength. MP gapped up. A lot of guys are still long versus 52.90. And this looks like it's going to take out this spot. This gap never got filled. That gap never got filled. That means those active buyers had a sugar honey iced tea load of power that the sellers couldn't even fill that. So this still looks good. Yes, it's probably even up a lot this morning. But anyway, yes, you could use rules, you could use charts, you could use systems that you developed over the course of years to help you navigate all these types of ranges, all these types of sectors, all these types of trades. But for now, we'll see how much of today's gap holds, how much of the last 2 days of declines gets reclaimed. It could take a few days also. Anyway, I'm not in this right now. It's not really my group. I'm just saying that this looks pretty good, in the face of what happened on those 2 days. All right, guys, it's 6:57. I've already gone more than 20 minutes. I'm pretty flat-footed. I'm going to see what happens here in the SPYs and the Qs. I'm not going to be in a rush to fade the open. And I'm going to see if anything could actually hold and, show some leadership and see what's going on here. There's lots of levels to look at. And if all of a sudden the market continues and your names don't, you may be able to sell some strength. But and I'd watch Meta. Does Meta, get above 765, or does it get rejected there? I'd watch Microsoft. Does Microsoft, you can actually even bring this up here. What's this high? This high is 535. Does it even get to there or not? So that'll tell you how exhausted it is from that move up. Does NVIDIA, which is another leader, does NVIDIA get above 176.54, or does it stay within this candle and just kind of rebuild? All right, guys. Sorry, I don't have more. I'm not going to be in a rush to buy this open. I'm also not going to be in a rush to short this open. I'm going to see the way it plays out a little bit. I'm going to see the way this week plays out because it is August and it could be a choppy month. I like when we get a pullback that turns into like a 4 to 6% pullback off the highs because A, you feel good about yourself selling into strength and reducing positions and like, oh, I sold really well. And then you get to buy and test levels earlier. When you're only down like less than 3% after a 20+% move from the lows, you kind of feel like you don't want to be in a rush. You want to just let things play out. So we'll see how it goes. Every phase is different. Every market is different. Different character, different leaders, different everything. So it's our job to look at it. Tem, that stock's been a pain in the butt. This just nothing. Is it above the 8 day? Is it above the 21 day? Is it showing specials? Is it showing strength? No. It looked like it was going to be okay here and failed. Back to the 200 day. Still in a range. Still going to need time. So, not showing you anything special. It could be being under accumulation this whole time for a breakout move at some point, but it's not yet. Same way with ASTS. Remember, we were in it here and it failed. It wasn't ready. Actually, look at this. Still looks really good now. I bought some back, but here it wasn't ready to go, and then finally it was ready to go, and then it gave you a great pullback and made new highs. But in here, it was still choppy. It was still absorbing this move from 4 to 39, so it took its time. So bases take time. Doesn't mean you stop watching it. It doesn't mean you get frustrated if you bought it wrong. It just means it's not ready yet, and when it's ready, your go time better be ready so you can execute when the stock wants to make its move. The bigger the base, the bigger the space, right? So in TEM, looks like it's just taking its time. It's got to be under accumulation, and at some point it'll take out 66 and 72 and be on its way back to 91.45, but just not yet. August 11th, thank you. All right, guys, I got to jump. Good luck. Good luck this week. Don't have FOMO. Map out levels.